Okay, everyone. Without further ado, one of my best friends, Ed Bermudez. We work together at Wells Fargo. He probably has more degrees than anybody here combined. Ed is a banker, has been working a long time in credit, risk management, collections, you name it. He's a lawyer also, and he's just an overall guy. The best thing he has is we were born in the same day, February 25th. So remember that for our birthday gifts, okay? Without further ado, Mr. Ed Bermudez talking to us about how to manage your career in a corporate environment. Correct?
Well, thanks a lot, Hernan. And as he said, not only one of my best friends as well, but also we share a birthday, so that makes it extra special every year. So glad to be here. Always been a big fan of Apprentice Worldwide. I think Hernan is he's earned heaven already by putting this together. I think this is a phenomenal group and a phenomenal initiative, and certainly it takes a ton of effort and time from Hernan. So I do believe that definitely you have earned your stripes by doing this, and you deserve a whole lot. So thank you for continuing to do this, and as always, glad to help. Guys,
Thank
very nice to meet you. I think we already had a few introductions over the chat, but I'm really glad to put some faces with the names. Very, very nice, to spend some time with you tonight. Hopefully, I will come back in the next few weeks and have a more comprehensive presentation. Today, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about, career planning, if you will. But hopefully, in the next few weeks, I'll be able to develop some other content, some other topics to continue to collaborate with Hernan and the team of mentors in producing, these results that we're all seeing as part of the program. The reason why I have just sort of a limited presentation today is because I just actually got home. This is my home office. I do a lot of work from home, but for the most part, I'm traveling around different regions. So I just made it home after an 8 hours drive from Florida. So I am a little, challenged in terms of the materials and whatnot. But I did want to, spend a few minutes with you tonight around career planning. The reason being, I asked Hernan where in your career you were at this point, and he said that a number of you are still in college, a number of you new graduates or doing your first internships in the industry. So I think it was a really good time for me to spend, like I said, a couple of minutes talking about career planning. Um, I'm very passionate about this topic to the tune that, I teach a international business class at the University of Tampa every semester. It's one of those sort of seminar type of classes, but I have evolved within that class to the point where half of my time I spend just, trying to talk to seniors and juniors um, in my class around the challenges of really preparing well for a career in a corporate environment. And the reason being mostly is that I do think, and there might be exceptions out there, and actually all of you might be the exception of the rule, but for the most part, every time that I deal with new graduates or sort of the younger generation that is just beginning to work or trying to aim, at work in corporate, I realized that very few of them really have a clear idea of where they want to go. And actually, that happened to me as well. When Hernan says that I have many degrees, I might have a couple degrees more than I needed. And the reason being, actually, is because I was never really completely clear in terms of what I was going to do with those degrees or where I was heading next. So, my first time in school, I actually went to law school and got a law degree. And then when I got my law degree, I had always been passionate, very passionate about the law. I still am. Actually, that's the one thing that I'm the most passionate about. However, I quickly realized that my professional future was going to be somehow limited, mostly because at that point I had just moved out of the country where I got that degree and into the U.S. Many years ago, and I realized that basically everything that I have learned was kind of worthless for me, and the plans that I was making towards the future. So there was a general overall thought process that I was able to apply, but certainly I needed something else. So with that something else, I decided that accounting was going to be my next step, and I had some sort of idea of what I was going to do with that degree. Halfway through it, I ended up switching to finance because I thought that, if I wanted to work in a commercial bank, finance was the way to go. I quickly realized once that I graduated that I couldn't really do a whole lot, with that finance degree unless I actually evolved along with the degree into more of a transferable skill type of environment. Because if you are going to school for a finance degree, the logical transition is for you to be in the reporting areas or in budgeting or something along those lines, which is not necessarily what I had in mind. Really, what I had in mind was more to be in the business line, to be able to structure deals and, get deals approved, and basically, being more on that business side. There are a number of transferable skills that you can get out of pretty much everything you do in school, but certainly I was not entirely clear, and the people that I normally deal with wasn't entirely clear about what to do next once that you finish school. So I basically kept on going. I got an MBA, I got a degree in advanced degree, a master's degrees in management. I got an advanced degree in organizational change. I had a couple other things, a minor in economics. So, I basically tried to do a bunch of things and hoping that I would be able to somehow put a little bit of each one of them to work and be successful in corporate. In my case, in corporate America, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. And, all those years later and a ton of student debt later, I basically realized that there is a lot that I could have done differently had I had somebody who basically was able to guide me and, spend some time with me, understanding where my goals were and where I was heading next. So, with that, I actually want to mention, if there is nothing else that you learn out of this program or your interactions with Hernan, all the mentors, and basically Apprentice Worldwide, at least keep in mind that having that interaction with people who has been there and done that already is pretty much 75% of the game, I would say, at the point of your career where you're trying to make decisions that are going to be critical for the rest of your life. I did not have that. I did not look for that. Were different times, of course. I graduated with my law degree 20 years ago. So I started my career actually 21 years ago, 22 years ago. Oh my God. Sort of aging myself here, dating myself here. But I didn't have that opportunity, back in the day. But like I said, if you don't learn anything else, at least make sure that you keep, those mentorships, you keep those relationships, that connectivity, because, the people who has already been there and done that will be your number one ally in terms of, helping you craft and design what you want to do for the rest of your life based on that information and those likes that you might be able to offer to them in terms of, help you with that process. Actually, I have a couple pieces of statistics that, will put some more color on what I'm saying. I just printed it out. I mean, I've been using it for years, but I have to print it out because I just wanted to make sure that I got everything out of them. One of them is this, and I think it's pretty interesting. In many industries and countries, the most in-demand occupations or specialties did not exist 10 or even 5 years ago. That's how fast, the corporate world is evolving. The most in-demand industries and occupations were not there 5, 10 years ago. This one I think is also interesting, but actually scary. And scary because, here we are, your mentors, trying to stay up to date and stay relevant. That's the term that I use quite a bit. And then I come across with this. By some estimates, 65% of the children that are entering the primary school today will ultimately end up working in completely new job types that do not exist today. So when you see kids going to the first, second, third grade, basically in primary school, 65% of those kids, according to the estimates, will have jobs that we still today don't know what they will look like or what they will be. So that's how rapidly, the world is evolving. And that's why it's very important, for everybody to have a good career planning. And, it's really not rocket science. Among those things, what I would say is that basically what I told you before. Number one, make sure that you develop your network. Make sure that you have a mentor. Make sure that you have people around you who can guide you at least at the beginning, because a lot of the profession, a lot of the majors that you go for in school, they don't necessarily have the applicability that you think they have, or at least their full scope. So it's very important that you understand how or what are those skills that you're going to be completing, or you're going to be obtaining, when you get a degree, when you go for that degree, and how that is going to translate into the potential jobs that you can aspire to in the future, and how those jobs are really going to fit your life and the kind of likes that you're looking for. Because there are some jobs that you might have some idea what they look like, but they might not really fit, what you want to do in the future. I can give you an example. One of the reasons why I sort of, even though I still love it, one of the reasons why I step aside from law at the beginning of my career is because I had this idea that I wanted to work for a big law firm, a law firm that was basically in the middle of commercial transaction with big outfits, banks, etc. And that type of job put me in the office almost 16, 17 hours a day when I was, 22 years of age. So yeah, I loved it. I loved the concept. I just didn't love the lifestyle, and I wasn't up for it at that time. But I didn't really know that, when I first registered for law school, and I had all these ideas and ambitions, how my career was going to look like. There was a good component of, work-life balance that I was missing. And I decided early on that, that was important to me. By the same token, some of my classmates at the time, sort of my peers, with my first job in the law firm, they were a perfect fit for it. So, they are very successful lawyers today. They sort of earned their stripes, spending a few years going for that. Something else is that, as you continue to go on, very important, like I said, to hear, from the people who has already had a career, who's already, more knowledgeable, more experienced, because there is also a component of timing. Depending on what you want to do professionally, you got to remember something. Remember what I told you, being out of law school for 21, 22 years? Well, if everything goes as planned, I'm probably not going to be able to retire for at least another 25 years. So I can have another career on top of the career that I already have. With that, what I want to say is that, you should plan, you might be in your early 20s finishing, school, but at that point, there is a very important step that you're going to start undertaking, which is basically the rest of your life. So for the most part, very likely you are going to spend, the next 40, 45 years of your life working in a particular area that you have chosen early in your 20s. Nobody ever told me, how important it was when I was at that point to really have that very meticulous planning. I don't complain. I have done well, and I'm happy. I like what I do. But had I wanted to do something more specific, had I wanted to be an investment banker instead of a commercial banker, had I wanted to be, a wealth advisor, or engineer, working with the structures, or something along those lines, I would have to make choices and decisions when I was, early in my 20s. If you want to be, for example, an investment banker, and I'm going to pick on that because, like you guys know, I'm a banker, so that's kind of my area. But if I wanted to be an investment banker, all the experience that I have accumulated in banking industry, through 22 years of working there, really won't help me at all if I wanted to transition. Why? because there is a timing for it. There is a process that you follow. You know, investment bankers normally are hired out of, you know, school. You know, when you first graduate, mostly people who has degrees in mathematics or, you know, could be business, but usually with an advanced degrees attached to it, or some sort of engineering. And then they are put through not only an internship program, but they are put through, you know, some sort of an analyst program, financial analyst
Through
program.
hell, they are put through hell of.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
kind of very similar to the law thing, remember?
Yeah.
So yeah, they're put through hell. That's exactly the best way to describe it. But that's how you enter into, you know, that area of banking. That's how you become an investment banker. You know, you get particular set of skills that makes you really good at numbers and analysis. Then you're put through hell, you know, for a few years where you work those 15, 16, 17 hours a day. And then eventually you become a credit analyst for the group. And then a few years later, you become an associate. And then, you know, maybe 15 years into your career, you are a VP, and then you can call yourself, you know, you have arrived, you know. Then you don't work that many hours, you make a ton of money, and you spend the rest of your life, you know, working on mergers and acquisitions, or, you know, putting deals together and stuff like that. But that pattern pretty much apply, you know, to everything you want to do. You know, a lot of the careers today are very specific. You know, there was a time when if you got an MBA, you were set. You know, you could do just about anything that you want with that. I do have an MBA from Wake Forest. It was a great experience for me. People ask me, you know, what are your thoughts? Even the school had asked me, you know, what my thoughts were, because they wanted to showcase me in some sort of advertising, you know, for the school. And I basically said, no, you don't want to do that. Why? Because if you ask me again, I will never go for an MBA. Mostly because I think that, you know, corporate world has become so specific nowadays that an MBA where you take a class or two on 10 different subjects is not going to help you much. Unless it is a requirement for that particular job, you know, to get some advanced degree in MBA, you know, probably, you know, fills a couple boxes. The truth of the matter is that today, you know, I don't really do anything with a degree where I took a class of, like I said, 10, 12, 14 different subjects through a 2-year period. And then when I graduate, of course, I don't remember any of those because, you know, it was one class. That was it, you know, and I was never interested in marketing. I was never interested in operations management. I was never interested on most of the subjects that I took. So I just didn't care much for it. When I talk about career plan, I always talk about, you know, define what you really like, get the proper advice so you know exactly, you know, how to go at it, and start early. Make those decisions today, because it's going to be a chain of decisions that you're going to have to make, you know, for the first several years of your career, so you can get to the point where you're prepared to really take the reins of that particular subject, that particular area where you really wanted to go. And on top of that, I'm a big believer of those, what some people call soft skills, which is something that doesn't have to do with school. It really has to do with stuff that you can, you know, really try to get on your own or try to practice as you go on. I think, you know, one of the famous people that really talks about it quite a bit is Elon Musk. You know, he basically says, and, you know, I just read it actually again last week, that to work at Tesla, you don't really need a college degree. You can be a high school dropout as long as you have the skills that are going to make you successful. I think there's a little bit of a reach because you still need, you know, some basic, you know, stuff to develop yourself on. But, you know, soft skills like, you know, adaptability, collaboration, communication, problem solving. After 22 years working in a financial institution, I'm still amazed of how difficult it is for many to problem solve. You know, how many calls, how many conference calls, how many Zoom meetings take place to go around and around and around, and then nobody's able to actually identify the problem and solve it. You know, so that's key. Critical thinking, creativity, customer service is fundamental. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of role you have. your customers, your clients, they're always going to be at the forefront of everything you do. You got to keep them happy, and you got to be able to deliver on what they are expecting for you to deliver, because it really takes no more than 1 or 2 bad experiences for you not to ever hear again from those guys. And trust me, there is a lot of competition out there. For every deal that I pitch, I have, 10, 12 other banks that are pitching exactly the same deal or even better at times. So competition is going to be there, and it's going to do nothing but increase as we go forward. So customer service and that service orientation is always going to be one of the main soft skills that I would say, people needs to acquire. Negotiation, because like I said, everything is about, you can say to attune a supply demand, but also it's about, what you're able to give up in order to get something that is equally worth it or more for you, or better fits where you're looking for. Decision making, employers, bosses, leaders really like people who is able to make decisions. I used to work with an individual that was excellent at his job. It was excellent. His skills were impeccable. He was an incredible professional. He reported to me for a few years, and it was somebody that I really, really admire. I was very happy to have him in my team, but he could not make a decision on his own. So at first, it wasn't really a big deal because he would come to me and we'll come up, with a decision together. And at the end of the day, there was a time where I was in charge of approving some of those, next steps, some of those decisions. So it was just fine. But as we continued to evolve, he was ready to keep moving forward, and that halted that progress because he was just not capable, at the time to make decisions, to be able to engage and move forward on his own. So that's very important. Working on, making decisions, basically standing by your beliefs and standing by the things that you think are right. Something else that I would add is not in the original list, but we are in 2021, and as you know, there is a lot of importance put around on diversity and inclusion. Being able to work with people that is different than we are, has a different set of skills or values, or even when you talk about dimensions of diversity, which I don't know if you have seen, it's a wheel that have different wheels inside of it, and every single layer is a particular set of diversity concepts. But diversity and inclusion is a very wide range of different attributes, and it's very important that you're able to work with people that is just different than you. It's very important that you're able to leverage those differences, because those differences, in the aggregate as a group, make us all much better. And it's the right thing to do. For the longest time, I've been a diversity champion, actually, back in 2010 or 11, I was part of the diversity council for Wells Fargo company-wide. And, at the time, I was a little conflicted, trying to sort of define, okay, well, this is the right thing to do, but, at the end of the day, we owe, some returns to our shareholders. Well, today, that dilemma is a lot easier to answer, because diversity and inclusion, is not only the right thing to do, it's also, or it has become today, also a profitable enterprise initiative, because, as we enter more into those concepts, we're also able to mirror the, population, the society, the communities we serve. And certainly, that's a marketing advantage. That's a skill, that we are able to leverage. So not only the right thing to do, it also has, business goals that are easily met by doing the right thing. So that's one more thing that I'm going to put up there. And I think I have gone for a little longer than I expected, but I'm going to close with this, just kind of food for thought. I said, 65% of the kids that go into primary school don't really know what the jobs, they're going to have are going to look like. And I have been debating, with that concept for a while, because I have a couple of kids. My son is 10 and my daughter is 7. And I really worry, I mean, I worry about myself. I worry about being relevant or being able to continue to evolve for the next 20, 25 years of my life. So I don't become extinct, as I still try to make my retirement goals. But I do worry a lot more about my kids because, they're little, they're just, into, the first steps of primary school. And I don't know really how to teach them, and what to teach them. So this is what I have done. So my wife, of course, is a native English speaker, and I am a Spanish native speaker. So we've been raising them bilingual in both English and Spanish. And when the opportunity came to start my son in kindergarten, and then of course through primary school, we were able to get acceptance in a language school that is fairly reputable here in the Charlotte area. So both my son and my daughter now, they go to school in a different language, in a third language. They are basically taught in Chinese. So since they were in kindergarten, they started their education, being taught in Chinese by Chinese professors in a fully immersed in Chinese environment. So they're already beginning to become trilingual, even though, they're very young. On top of that, I have both been registered in coding classes, which is kind of like an after-school activity. There is a particular franchise here in the Charlotte area called Code Ninjas, where you basically register the kids, when they're little, and they learn to code, in different languages as they progress, with the ultimate goal to design their own video games. So kind of killing a couple of birds with the same stone there, because my kids only want to video game all day long. So now, they're learning how to code, but they're learning through, the goal of becoming a game designer. So again, language, coding, certainly, those soft skills that I mentioned, they're still too little for most of that, but I try to think about that, as I teach them. So I don't really know what's going to happen or what kind of jobs they're going to have in the next 20 years, but I'm giving them, a set of skills, a set of skills that I'm hoping they're going to be able to mold, and certainly, making transferable as they go into the workforce, 15, 20 years from now. So not saying, go ahead and learn Chinese, but, it's certainly, if you can get a couple languages, under your belt, work on your soft skills, be good with customer service and people, be a diversity champion, and stay, open, keep your mind open on how you learn and what you learn, and keep your network, increase your network, make it as big as you can, and make sure you stay connected with the mentors and seek mentors in the areas where you want to be in the future. I think you will be successful. There's no doubts about it. And that's all I have for tonight.
Just a last minute comment. Ed, I think everything you told them was very valuable. Sometimes you have to go through a little piece of hell to get into heaven.
That's true.
That nothing that destroys your life or your values, that nothing that is against what you believe. Then let me tell you, for those of you who think, networking, blah, 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 I was pre-retired last year and I got a job 2 weeks ago because of my networks. And, at the age of 78, I'm starting a new career.
There you go.
58. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say,
Oh my God,
you're
you
the
look
best
really
looking.
young.
Yeah, I look great. I know. No, but it's never late to start. It's never late to change. It's never late to get something new and exciting to do. So don't get stuck in a job for too long. But also don't go jumping around jobs. So this is going to show you a lot of the, you can ask us, we can give you tips with, we're here to help you. Because when we were young, when I was young, there was no way you could get it. And, especially if you were, they will tell you, no, you're just going to get married and live.
Yeah.
Right? But
That's a great comment, Rosa. That's
yeah,
a fantastic comment. And I failed to mention this, but thank you for saying that because you couldn't be more on target. I have applied to jobs in my life, in my career that I didn't get.
yeah,
I'll give you that. But I will also say this, and is 100% accurate. Every time that you feel like networking is a little too much, you don't want to get into that Zoom call, you don't want to call that guy, whatever the case is, remember this, please. In my life, I have had 5 or 6 jobs tops. I mean, I tend to stay, for a very long time doing, a single job. I've been at Wells Fargo for 14 years now. Neither one of those jobs, none of them, I ever applied for. Basically, I was asked to take on a role, and that includes different companies. I was sought after because people knew me, because I had a network, because they knew what I do and how I did it. I even have rejected jobs that I didn't apply for that were offered to me, just basically because people knew who I was or they were connected with me, in a way. So networking is, I want to say, 99% of the game. I mean, you can be, really good at what you do, but if people don't know that, it's going to be hard for you to get the job, So network and tap on your mentors. That's going to be the name of the game. I promise you.
Excellent. So thank God you were only going to talk for 15 minutes. I love it, right? Edgar, you're amazing.
Aaron, you know me. You know that, once that I get going, it's kind of hard to stop.
It's hard to stop you. It's hard to stop you. Listen, brother. So I do want to say something that is important and that I wanted to for you to understand. So the value of the network is really what we're showing you here, right? Your mentors are here, meaning this is not a mentor program that the mentor program finishes and you're done. No, this is a network that we established for you to enjoy through life, right? So this is my network, which is now your network, right? But if you need to make a little effort and connect, sometimes it just baffles me that we have every single resource you can imagine in our network, and people just do not tap it. No? We have some of the top CIOs, CEOs, entrepreneurs in our network globally. You don't believe me? Look at the profiles, right? And we're shy, right? This is not the place to be shy. Okay, trust me, this is not the place to be shy. This is the place for people to get to know you because you have value. You have
Listen,
value. Your
guys,
personality
choose
is
any
important.
event around where you live of something that doesn't have anything to do with you. Go to that event and meet 5 people and get out of that place having met and known what these 5 people do. You will learn how to listen. It's funny, Ed, you were talking. I mean, I love automation, and I was never a corporate guy. I was always the small company providing services to the very large companies. And I always, wondered, like, why would they hire me when they have 1,000 employees? What? And it's very interesting once you live with a corporation for years, and you learn to survive in the corporation through budget cuts, through changes in people, through changes in philosophy. Corporations are animals, and these animals evolve, and these animals are ruthless
That's
because
true.
decisions are made at a level where they don't see too much below because they do what they have to do, and people get affected from Friday to morning. So you have to never take anything for granted. You can be there one day, you're not the next day, but you have to have a career plan. But you have to have mentors. You have to know how to be a politician. You need to know how to learn what to say, what not to say, who to say to. I mean, that's
That's a
probably
great point, Eric. That's a great point.
that's a key survival key. I have a whole bunch of friends, who have survived amazingly through purchases, mergers, procurements, and changes, boss changes, and there's a lot of others who don't. And but get out of your comfort zone is the most important skill you can teach to yourself, because no one's going to teach that to you.
Yep.
So start from now. It's not nobody cares if you're shy or not, and nobody cares what happened to you this morning. You need to be outside. You need to learn how to smoosh. You need to learn how to understand people, deal with people, because no matter who you are, where you are, outside, inside, no matter what you do, no matter what your career is going to be, if you're not a people's people, you're going to have problems.
Those are great comments, and I failed to mention that, but as you go on, as you continue to move on and move up in the corporate ladder, that becomes even more necessary. Trust me, I spend most of my days biting my tongue so I don't say something that is not gonna be politically correct, so I can continue to be well seen within the institution. So that's a fantastic point. You gotta be
goes
smart.
To the job.
About how
Goes
you
with the
handle
job.
yourself.
It goes with the job. I remember I had this CIO for Black & Decker. I did amazing things there. It's a small company. I remember the CIO, was delivering once like the best vendor of the year award. And then it's a very long story, but to make it short, at the end of the whole thing, there was people from vendors, huge vendors, Hewlett Packard, Cisco, these ERP systems, I mean, you name them. And at the end, the guy says, listen, now I'm going to give this award to the person that I least ever expected to give this to. And then he calls me, and the thing is that at some point, it's good to be recognized for being a good partner, for if you don't sleep, I don't sleep, for if you have a problem, it's my problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are, who you work for, care. The word care, it's like super important, and be there and make the problem a part of your thing. It's not that you go 9 to 5 and you go home and but that will define who you're going to be. And there's nothing wrong with being 9 to 5, but that will also define you. And there's a lot of people that are extremely happy being a 9 to 5 person. I mean, I wish sometimes I would have been one of those people. I never was. I like learning. I keep learning. Every day I learn something new. I learned how to learn. That's, to me, the second very important advice to you is that you need to learn how to learn. We live in a world that is changing at a very rapid pace. I taught a course in the University of Miami because I realized students graduate, they never teach you collaborative tools. They never teach you how to work in teams. They don't teach you about Excel. And to me, if I ask you about a pivot table and you know what it is, you're not good to me, because it's a skill that if you don't have it, what I do in 5 minutes, you're gonna take one day. So that type of efficiency on the personal level, speaking about the things that people need to have and skills, the soft skills, I think they have a very big impact on how quickly you can make an impact when you work. How quickly can you be of use and be helpful when something's given to you as a responsibility. And like in Cuba, there was this great thing called Mensaje to Garcia. And my parents are Cuban, and I have the message to Garcia deep into my brain, which is, once given a task, don't ask, go find, go figure out, go. So, and then after a little while, after you really dug into it, if you really can't find, then come and ask something, So I don't know, that's kind of what I see and what I would like to see in people when they work with me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is amazing advice. By the way, we're recording this, so you can definitely listen to this again and again if you ever want to do this. We're also going to put it in our audio podcast, so you don't have to see the faces again, and you just want to listen and repeat it. So again, a little round of applause because we're on Zoom to Edgar for giving up his time for this great presentation. So let me clap.
Anytime, guys, and feel free to reach out. Feel free to, shoot me a text or WhatsApp, whatever it is. I mean, I'll be more than glad to continue the conversations one-off. I mean, I love this. I do it, quite often. So, please do not hesitate.
Okay? Excellent. Well, thank you. So now, before we leave, I know it took a little longer. We're 10 minutes past, but I think it's important that we talk about having the right mindset. So
I'm going to excuse myself, but I'll see you guys soon, okay? Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Okay, guys, real quick. So I wanted to hear from you. You guys took the course, right, about having a successful mindset. And I'll bring you some of the points that were discussed in this homework that you guys took, okay, to see if any of these resonate in your mind. So we talked about being a lifelong learner, right? Having the right words, being adventurous, living in the moment. That's a chapter that really talked about making real decisions, consistency. Consistency is key. And then having the mindset that nothing is impossible. So these are the subjects that you guys read. I want to go around the table. So we'll start, I guess, who read the material that wants to say something? I know Tanya was looking at it, right? Sebastian was looking at the course. What do you guys think about this course that we have on success?
I think so. I watched the videos. It was also with reading, but I watched the videos because I'm more of a visual person. But I guess it was always things that I guess throughout my life, I just started to implement. And it's basically the journey to success, or explains how also the journey matters itself. Because I experienced it in my own life, like when I stayed, because for example, little things like consistency or not giving up, those actually made it successful and made my life happier. And it was never about reaching a certain destination of success. It was more like, is the journey itself successful? And that's the main thing I got from it, and it stuck with me.
Yeah. So you hit in the nail. Some of these things might feel like common sense, but we have to repeat it in our minds, right? Sometimes we have a setback, and we because we have a little setback, we get off thrown, of course, right? And this allows us to focus, right? To understand that we need to get up, we need to do what we need to do, we need to be responsible, we need to be accountable, right? These are the skills that we need as we're growing up, right? So now that you're becoming full-grown adults, some of you already are full force, right? This is what happens in life. It's not really the knowledge that you have is critical for the industries that you want to focus on. Absolutely, right? But the transferable skills that all of us require to have are we need to be responsible, right? We need to be accountable. We cannot blame other people for work that we're supposed to take on ourselves. That shows character, that shows responsibility, and that shows that we are, the adults that we need to be to get paid as adults. You want to get paid as a child, right? $5 every week. Then you act like a child. You want to make 100,000, 150,000. You need to act and have the skill set that an adult requires. And these are some of the, and again, trial and error. It's not always perfect. We fail, but we pick ourselves up, we dust ourselves, and we go to the next thing. Right? The environment that we're creating at Apprentice is an environment where failure is expected, where whatever happens happens.
Failure
Because
is not
really,
an option or none.
failure is not an option. The reality
Best
is
effort is not an effort. Best effort, you need to produce results. And if you don't
that's right.
produce results, then you need to learn why you could not produce results.
That's right. That is the world that we live in.
And then you need
If
to
we want
fix
to get
it.
paid. Yeah, yeah.
So he's telling
Anybody
you
else?
that so you guys don't get discouraged, and so that he's a motivational guy. I'm the guy with the bat.
Charles, what do you think about this topic of success, having the right mindset?
I definitely agree with what you and Tandra said. Definitely very valuable skills, and I feel like a lot of them go hand in hand with one another. Let's say if some of your more strength, like if some of those skills you're more stronger in, it can possibly even help you with the ones that you're weaker in, and try to help compensate and improve those weaker skills. But it's also like for me, I notice I kind of resonate with a few of the skills that I have been implementing in my own life over the last couple of years. Maybe some skills that I wasn't already implementing in my life when I was younger, and I started to see the benefit and realizing like kind of like a light switch. Like, okay, I need to be more accountable with myself. Kind of be more responsible and like have more of like a leadership responsibility and role personality. So that way, if something does happen, I understand, and if it's my fault, I take full blame and kind of learn from it and move on from there and learn where I can do better. There's definitely other skills as far as like living in the moment and kind of just being able to like be open to everything, and like how you said, being like a lifelong learner, just being able to always learn anything and everything every day and just see where that information takes you and how that can make you a better person and be the best version of yourself.
Guys, is money an objective or is money a consequence?
I feel like a lot of people think money is an objective, but money can also be a consequence, because if you are like working a very big corporate job where you're just in it for the money, that can hurt you, because then you're not really doing something that you're happy. You're just kind of doing something to make the money. So it kind of could be hand in hand, because I know for some people, they don't need millions and millions of dollars to be happy in their life. But some people, like in big corporations, they're used to making millions and millions of dollars, but realistically, their life might not be full of happiness, and there's problems within their own life because they're so deep invested into their work that they're not able to really have full happiness within their life.
That's right. I mean, money comes to you if you do this or you do that. It doesn't come to you just because, right?
Right.
No, I always ask because what happens, one of my bosses told me one time that I complain about my job. He told me, whenever you complain about your job, just remember that I can paste the entire office with resumes of people that want your job. And when I heard that, I was pissed, right? My initial reaction is, what is this guy trying to tell me? The reality is that I have to be on my toes. That's what he tried to tell me. He tried to tell me that I needed to appreciate it, work hard every day, and then obviously after whatever time, 6, 7 o'clock, whenever the job was finished, then I can enjoy time with my friends. I can enjoy my life, right? This is what he was trying to tell me, particularly if he was paying me good dollars. If I'm my own boss, right, which I have been my own boss in several locations, then I'm not accountable to anybody, right? But all of us that do not have our own
Your
jobs.
wife, Hernan, your wife, your wife.
Well, by the way, that's a good one because I married an accountant for purpose to make sure that the money is always kept well balanced and well managed. Anybody else? Successful mindset, success mindset. Anybody else? Liliana, ¿qué tú crees?
Well, about having a successful mindset, I mean, you need to have it in whatever you're doing because sometimes, for example, let's say that you have a job, right? And then you have to do this task, and then the task you don't like it, but still it's part of your job. So if you don't like have the right mindset towards it, then there's only like two ways. There's two things that can go like, or you're gonna do it right, or te va a ir mal. So it's
Yeah.
always up to you to como que pone the right mindset that you want to do. O sea, if you want a good outcome, it's all up to you. Doesn't matter what they give you, it's just how you react towards it. Like you can't expect like everyone to treat you nicely or to treat you in a certain way. It's always on your side. What do you want the outcome to be like? It's up to
Yeah.
you always.
Excellent. So I have two girls, and
Mhm.
I remember Mary Poppins, that the
Sí.
song "A Spoonful of Sugar Makes the Medicine Go Down." Right. So that song always stuck with me, which means that you try to make, you know, out of a situation that you don't like, right? Try to make the best of it by having what? A positive attitude, by doing it with friends, by learning, by having a mentor, all these things that will help us with the difficult task. You don't have to do it alone, right? You always have a way to find a little bit of, make it a little more pleasurable. The thing that I hate the most in the planet is doing expenses. I hate doing expenses, right? I'm a banker. I'm supposed to know finance, but I hate doing expenses. But I have to do it. Otherwise, I don't get paid. Sometimes I have 2 or 3 months without doing them, but that is part of the skills. And if you don't pay the corporate credit card, guess who's going to be behind you? The the accounting department, and they're going to call your boss. Your boss is going to think that you're irresponsible, and then the mentality that they had of you, of being a good responsible person, they start changing. So guess what? I don't like it, but I have to do it. I have to do it on time, or I get in trouble.
Sí.
Okay, guys, we took a little longer. I think you get the drift for what we're trying to do here. This is the first, it's the second week, but it's the first one when you actually are involved in different tasks. I'm going to ask the mentors to give me what are the tasks that they have assigned to you, and if you ever want to discuss these tasks you have any question about what they're trying to do at the beginning, please, I'm going to give you the calendar so that you guys can set some time apart if you need so. Okay, so let's call it office hours, and we'll do that the first couple of weeks to make sure that you understand. And if you need something else, so please let me know. Questions, cheap shots, comments. Okay, next week, personal branding. That's gonna be your course. Okay, so it's gonna be fun for those of you in marketing. You know how to sell things. You know how to promote things. This time, I want you to think about how it is that you think of yourself as a product, and how do you promote yourself. Okay, it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna talk about it next week, and obviously we have a spectacular guest speaker from one of the top companies in Texas, one of the Fortune 500s called Texas Instrument. She's going to join us and talk to you about, I won't spoil the surprise, you'll see the flyer later on during the week. So again, I'm very, very happy that you guys are taking this, to the next level. Keep connecting with your mentors. And if you have questions, please ask me, one of the mentors, or obviously Palak, who's helping, behind the scenes. I know Muskan has talked to her a few times, Tanya, some of the other guys as well. She's helping us with the logistics. And she will see this recording. We're meeting with the Europe team tomorrow at midday. If you ever miss one of these meetings, we have meetings midday on Tuesday. And what we do is we share the recordings of the presentations with them. So we only run only the part where they have to report. So it's a much shorter meeting. So if you ever cannot make it to this, you make it to the lunchtime. It's only going to be half an hour, but then we'll give you the recordings as well, so you don't miss the material.
Well, guys, nice to meet you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Good
Have a good
night.
one.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a good night. Have a
Bye,
good
Mo.
night.
Viva México,
Viva.
compadre. Gracias por